Today's episode of the Bleav in Steelers podcast is brought to you by betonline.ag. Super Bowl 56 is here. Bengals and Rams, huge game on Sunday to finish out the 2021 season. If you want to place a bet on any of the Super Bowl action, betonline.ag is the place to do it.
Man, y'all make sure y'all better go to betonline.ag because you know I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals and Jackpot Joey.
Ike, we're going to talk about that all week here on the Bleav in Steelers podcast. But before you tune in and listen,
we might as well do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Before you tune in and listen, though, what I want our listeners and viewers to do is to head to betonline.ag today and use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code Bleav, that's BLEAV, to get started. Bet online, where the game starts. All right, cue the music. It's time to start the show. Welcome to the Bleav in Steelers podcast on the Bleav Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mark Bergin, joined as always by my guy, two-time Super Bowl champion and 12-year veteran of the Pittsburgh Steelers, number 24, Ike Taylor. IT, you are no stranger to playing in Super Bowls. You won 2, you played in 3. Super Bowl week is here. I am fired up. We are less than a week away from the big game in Los Angeles, SoFi Stadium. Rams and Bengals, a lot to discuss on today's episode of the Bleav in Steelers podcast. How are you doing this morning, my man?
I'm good, Mark. I hope you had a good weekend. This is officially Super Bowl week. I've been there 3 times, 1 and 2. Wish I can get the third one back, but obviously that's just how the game go. But it's a different kind of world when you want to talk about the Super Bowl. I think the interviews start today. So you're going to see a lot of guys you really don't know and you really didn't understand show their personality. So that's what kind of got me into the media field when I started doing the Super Bowl interviews throughout the week. You know, everybody was like, they heard Ike Taylor, they seen me play, but what is his personality? And I think my personality kind of, came out during that time of the week. So I think a lot of people on my football team at the time, personalities came out. So between the Cincinnati Bengals and the LA Rams, we're going to catch all kind of attitudes. And when you want to talk about star power, though, we already know that the LA Rams, down there like the old school Lakers when it come down to that star power.
Ike, and I know back in the day you were answering hard-hitting questions from our guy like Dave Damashek wondering, is it a must-win game? So really excited
to
talk.
It is. Your wordplay just got to be good. That's the great thing about football. And I think football, my personal opinion, it's America's sport because you only get one shot. This ain't a series. This ain't the best out of 5. This ain't the best out of 7. It's one shot. And that's what it makes so exciting. That's why you see all these $1 million commercials on Super Bowl. And we just talking about halftime. So halftime, when you want to look at a slot to get in a commercial, man, it's going to cost you millions. Then you look at the new Doritos commercials when you want to talk about before the game and after the game. And every commercial for me, when it comes down to Super Bowls, are like classics. But everybody's sitting at home. Millions of people are sitting, hundreds of millions of people are sitting at home watching the Super Bowl. So for me, man, just to not only grow up watching the Super Bowl and seeing how fascinating it was, but to actually get an opportunity to play in a few Super Bowls and be like, I once was one of these kids or one of these adults or one of these people who sat down and I'm actually in it now. But you can't describe it, Mark. You can't describe the Super Bowl, man. Like, it's a feeling, everybody in the world, damn near, in the world is watching. So all you want to do is do what you've been doing to get there. You just want to perform at a high level.
Ike, I'm going to ask you all about this a little bit later in today's show, considering you played in 3 of them, what that week leading up to the big game is like. We got a lot to discuss on today's show, including Super Bowl 56, Bengals and Rams. We'll get to that in a bit. Some of the best head coaching hires, considering there have been several of them, 2 openings still between the Texans and the Saints. I'm going to talk about what was the Pro Bowl yesterday. I'm not sure if that was a scrimmage, a 7-on-7, a walkthrough. We'll talk about that. But we're going to start with the Steelers' decision to promote Teryl Austin to defensive coordinator, filling in the vacancy from Keith Butler, who's decided to retire. But Austin has previous experience as a defensive coordinator with both the Lions and the Cincinnati Bengals. He was serving as Steelers defensive backs coach, but an internal decision to promote him, 56 years old, a lot of experience in the NFL. I just wanted to get your takeaway from the promotion of Teryl Austin from DB's coach to defensive coordinator.
We talked about this last week. So you and I talked about this on the show last week that we figured they was going to stay in-house. We was looking for fanny pack Vic Fangio, you know, but obviously they stayed in-house, but that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers do. You know, they don't used to go outside, whether it's getting free agents or whether they're hiring from inside or out. They usually just like to stay inside the house. So this is exactly what they did. You kind of anticipated that. We had a few phases that we wanted to be a Pittsburgh Steeler, but for me, man, that's just Coach T. That's still going to be Coach T defense. That's how I look at it. But what I do like now is you getting a defensive play caller from the back end. So Coach Austin was a DB coach. And when you talk about DBs, I just look at a great Dick LeBeau and how he looked at things and how his view was when you want to talk about calling plays. He viewed things from the back end all the way to the front. And when you do that, you see the whole field. You know, you don't – and you're more open-minded and you understand what it is to be a linebacker in bad situations. You understand what it is to be a defensive lineman in bad situations. That's just my personal opinion when it comes down to being a DC. Linebackers, former linebackers, you know, they look at it from the linebacker point of view all the way up to the front, and y'all guys figure it out in the back. That's just how I feel. So for us, it's like we got to look at it from, okay, we see everything in front of us, and this is our view. We get to see the whole field, you know, and we got to protect. Because if we give up a play, you know, you might as well strike up the band or you're going to be on one of these network shows. So that's how I look at it, man. Just coming from a defensive back perspective, you get a defensive back coach, he got a different point of view. So he's going to see it from all kind of angles, but don't get it twisted. It's still Coach Tomlin defense.
Let's strike up the band with pick sixes for the Steelers defensively.
Right.
Yes. I'm going to go full Yinzer here, Ike. The glass half full approach here is that Austin played safety at the University of Pittsburgh. So he's familiar with the Steelers organization, having coached there for 4 years, played his college ball there, considered a favorite throughout this process. And also his previous experience as a defense coordinator, which I touched on. But what I would go to as well is that the Giants also wanted to hire Austin as their defensive coordinator, and they interviewed him. He chose to remain in Pittsburgh. So I always look at what is your value? Would other teams want to bring you in and acquire your services? And the Giants did just that. So my glass half full perspective being other teams did value him, bringing him in potentially to be their defensive coordinator. He has previous experience doing that, and they have the opportunity to do just that. Your point about him being a DB's coach on the back end too. I mean, not to say Teryl Austin's going to be the great Dick LeBeau, a Hall of Fame coach, Hall of Fame player, but I like the similarities. And, you know, it's the start of the week. It's Monday, Ike. I like starting off the work week with that optimism.
Well, it's the stability. When you want to talk about Pittsburgh, if you look at some of the tenders, Sean Payton until he stepped down, Coach Belichick, Coach Harbaugh, Coach Mike Tomlin. And when you want to talk about those three franchises, when it comes down to being the coach, yeah, the money might be a little bit better somewhere else, but how long will I be there? I know if Coach T here, I know if I get in cool with the Rooneys, and I also play college football here, everybody been knowing what I'm doing, and I'm a defensive back coach, and they just moved me up the rank. Like, where else do I need to go? So for me, Pittsburgh is home, and I'm trying to talk like Coach Austin. You know, yeah, I got to go check out an interview, you know. I got to go show face because I put myself in a good position to be able to do that. But at the same time, in the back of my mind, I know I'm going back to Pittsburgh. And the reason why I'm going back to Pittsburgh, I know the tradition, I love the city, and I know I'm going to have good stability when it comes down to being the coach. So, and I can learn from a good dude as well, Coach Tomlin, on not only how to run the organization, will pick his brain as well when it comes down to running defenses.
I want to state for the record, and this is not to take away from anything Teryl Austin will do as the defense coordinator of the Steelers. Whichever team hires Vic Fangio will have a much improved defense in the 2022 season if he so chooses to coach. I will state that. But very excited to see what this defense looks like in the 2022 season, given the inability to stop the run this year. I love that the Steelers led the league yet again in sacks, but shoring up the middle of that defense is going to be one of the keys to success in 2022, reestablishing the line of scrimmage up front on the interior, something that the Steelers will need to do. And like, it pained me yesterday to watch the Pro Bowl and I see Javon Hargrave for the Eagles is there. And I'm like, what the heck? He used to be in Pittsburgh. He should be in the other conference on the other side of the ball for the AFC. Couldn't help but notice that. But that's something that the Steelers will need to address this offseason going into next season.
100%. Either that or Tua got to come back like it's on fire. Tua sat out. He was injured. Plus, he had some personal issues, what he had going on off the field. So, as an organization, man, they gave him a lot of leeway to really get his mind right and get himself together as a young man. But my personal opinion, and we talk about this on the show, Mark, you got to go stout on that defensive line, especially at that nose and D tackle. You know what I'm saying? Cam going to be Cam. Cam, for me, is a future Hall of Famer. We all know what he do. We all know how consistent he is. But to take some of that slack, because Cam is getting older, going on get you a young stud who can sit down in the middle and be an anchor for a minute and let Cam continue to make his plays. But that running game on the defensive side, man, they got to come to a halt. Because when the team can run the ball on you, they control the game, they control the clock, and they take your will. That's just what it is. And teams who can't run on you, man, you give your offense more opportunities to, either do the same thing, vice versa, or make plays. So that running game, man, that breaks your will. And for Pittsburgh, yeah, they led the league in sacks, but that's cool because you can lead the league in sacks, but somebody can run the ball down your throat. For us in the Pittsburgh Steelers in that tradition, I'd rather you pass the ball and air it out, and you go for 500 yards, than to run the ball and control the clock and pick up 300-400 yards. That's just what it is. So that running game ain't nothing but a slow down. That passing game, man, you kind of die quick when it comes down to the passing game. Once you get behind real fast, it's going to be hard to win the ball games. But that running game, man, you start running on teams and you control that clock. That's just like cutting you. That's just like cutting you with a blade, Mark. And you don't want to keep getting cut with a blade, slice by slice, and just literally, by the end of the day, you'll pass out 4 or 5 days later. So they do need to toughen up on that run game. That's one of the issues Pittsburgh need to do. I personally think they need to go get them a nose tackle. I think his name might be I'm not going to tell you, but he's from Georgia.
Jordan Davis. The analogy I always make, Ike, is you can't make a gourmet meal with bologna and potato chips, but you can make a sandwich. And I hope that we can restock the cupboard. Let's get the finest ingredients. Let's bring in the nicest cuts of beef and meat and everything and set the table for Teryl Austin as the Steelers defensive coordinator, because if you keep taking from the fridge and keep taking from the cupboard, eventually it's going to be bare. Let's restock. Let's get him the personnel to be able to succeed as the defensive coordinator in 2022 and beyond. Something the Steelers will need to do at this point. Now that they've named their defensive coordinator, got to restock the defense and get back to playing Pittsburgh Steelers football on the defensive side of the ball. Ike, we'll take a quick break to tell our listeners and viewers about NordVPN. And you need peace of mind on the internet, on all of your different devices and security. And so NordVPN is the world's best VPN service, delivering the fastest connectivity, the most servers, and next-gen encryption to make sure that everything that you do online stays secure.
Yeah, you ain't hacking because we ain't slacking, because we got NordVPN all-day security.
You can see the website listed on your screen right now if you're watching the Bleav in Steelers podcast. So what you need to do is go to nordvpn.com/Bleav. Use our code Bleav, that's BLEAV, to get up to 70% off your NordVPN plan, plus 1 additional month for free. It's also risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. And Ike, excited to have them on as a presenting sponsor of the Bleav in Steelers podcast, NordVPN, thanks to that. We will continue the show. The Steelers GM search continues on. We know Kevin Colbert's going to step aside after April's draft. And so we know about the internal candidates with Brandon Hunt and Omar Khan. I would still say that they have the fast track and would be considered favorites to get hired to take over for Kevin Colbert. But Steelers have interviewed the following candidates for their GM position last week. It includes Ryan Cowden of the Tennessee Titans, Ed Dobbs of the Indianapolis Colts, and JoJo Wooden of the Los Angeles Chargers. Ike, I know you've got a lot of connections within the Steelers organization. I was curious if you had any insight on the outside candidates that will be considered for this GM role.
No, I think they're going to keep it in-house. They've been doing that, from Matt Canada, from the time he was there, he the OC now, to Teryl Austin, from the time he coached in DBs to the time he's the defensive coordinator now. I think they're going to do the same thing when it comes down to the general manager job. Between B. Hunt and Omar Khan, we shall see. I think right now they're just giving a trial and a test. It's coming up with a draft. They're gonna give both of the guys, I'm talking about Omar Khan and B. Hunt, the same guys to look at, to grade, and they just gonna come to a conclusion later on this year, right after Kevin Colbert retires. But I just think, man, they just giving them a test between the two. Everybody get the same amount of guys, the same positions. I want y'all to fill out a form, why you like them, why you don't like them. Kevin Colbert has his own grading system. I'm sure they'll use the same. If not, they'll tweak some things. But they want to get a Pittsburgh Steelers in-house. And that's what it is. Between B. Hunt and Omar, they've been in the organization for a long time, especially Omar Khan. He's been there a while, so they want somebody to understand what it is to be a Steeler. And those two guys definitely understand what it is to be a Steeler. So, man, we'll see. But again, I think they're just gonna keep this. They're gonna keep the brand in house, baby. That generational wealth. That's exactly what they're gonna do.
I will go back to something I said about Teryl Austin, apply that here as well. I know both Brandon Hunt and Omar Khan have interviewed for other positions with other organizations, get promoted internally for, I would argue, one of the best, if not the best franchise in all of professional sports, 100%. Not just the NFL. So, yeah, sweet. I could go, interview for a lesser team. It goes back to what you were saying too, Ike, of, okay, I might get what would be considered a promotion, being a GM for another franchise. But if I'm not set up for success there for another franchise, whereas I know that there's going to be the stability in Pittsburgh, like I look at when you have Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, Mike Tomlin as your 3 head coaches for the last 50 plus years, it's like, why would you not want that stability?
Yeah, it's hard to leave. Like when we was winning, and I had 3 contracts. So when my contract was coming up, like I know I was gonna get paid if I went somewhere else, Mark, but I know I was gonna go to a sad ass team, and I knew if we wasn't winning because of the coaching staff or whatever, I was gonna become a salary cap casualty. That's just what it is. I know if I stayed in Pittsburgh, slow money is better than no money, but you're going to see all your contract. You know what I'm saying? So that's exactly what I did. And I ain't want to leave Troy Polamalu. So glad I didn't, But that's just what it was. It's just, man, it's hard to find in that business some stability. But going to a Pittsburgh and being a Pittsburgh Steelers, that's exactly what you're going to get as long as you don't mess it up, that great stability.
We might need to start a new segment here on the show, Ike's Insight. And I wrote this down. Slow money is better than no money.
Yes, sir.
Some wisdom from Ike Taylor. Okay, we will move on to yesterday's Pro Bowl. And Ike, I was watching the game. I was on Twitter. Everyone was in an uproar. And J.J. Watt tweeted something. He said, I've seen walkthroughs more intense than this. I've seen 7-on-7s more intense than this. Now, 4 Steelers playing in the game, Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, T.J. Watt, Cameron Hayward. I did find it ironic that TJ Watt strips Kirk Cousins, sets up a Myles Garrett pick six, considering their division rivals and everything too. Right. While the Bengals are preparing for the Super Bowl, this is the bizarro world that we live in 2022. So like least shocking news of the day, TJ Watt, forces a fumble, gets to the quarterback. But I have a proposal for you to fix the Pro Bowl once and for all, because like there wasn't even tackling. You ready for this, Ike?
I'm listening.
Instead of the Pro Bowl, let's do away with the Pro Bowl. Let's get the two worst teams in the league. Go head to head. So this year it would have been the Jaguars and Lions. The winner gets the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. That's my solution. You play a meaningful football game in the week between the conference championship games and the Super Bowl.
Man, R.I.P. Sean Taylor. Because when Sean Taylor was making the Pro Bowls, there wasn't no such thing as going half-ass. He set the tone, he set the tempo, and he would let you know just by watching R.I.P. Sean Taylor. Hey man, I'm not here to make friends. One, I'm here to play football, and how I look at football, is organized violence, and this is exactly what we're gonna do today. So if y'all didn't come to hit, if y'all ain't come to shake me, if y'all ain't come to absorb some of these hits, don't get on the field. That's what I wish somebody on that secondary or that backfield or a linebacker or a D tackle, came with their chin strap, came with their big boy pass, and it was like, bro, I'm not trying to be friends today. You know what I'm saying? I'm pissed off. I'm mad. Once I step in between these lines, all hell gonna break loose. So now I get and I satisfy, one, how great in a little bit of time Sean Taylor was, but he ain't taking football for granted at all. He played how it's supposed to be played, and that was organized violence. So, man, when you just look at the Pro Bowls with Sean Taylor, I'm just going to tell y'all, period, all my viewers and listeners, go to the Pro Bowls which Sean Taylor was in, and that's going to show you how Pro Bowls should be played.
Like, it's not just that he would actually bring the thunder. It's that he would bring the thunder against a punter on a fake punt as well.
He went 100 miles an hour, no breaks. It don't matter whether it's an all-star, preseason, regular season, playoff. That was Sean did. So that's what I admired about Sean.
I can understand not wanting to get injured, Ike, but I was always taught with footballs, if you're not going 100%, that's when you're going to get hurt. Yes. And so when I see that they're essentially playing two-hand touch, like it's a quick whistle, and I understand that, and particularly with the quarterbacks too, I totally get that. But it's like it's not football. And the only player I saw actually go to the ground is Micah Parsons cleaned up on Deontay Johnson after a quick catch at one point in the game, or I think it was an end round. But other than that, it was like they wrapped up quick whistle, and it's like, what am I watching? And I understand it's really cool to see all the stars together, the best teams in both conference. I totally understand getting to see that in person, but to see Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas sold out, it was like, man, if I had been there, I'm like, can I get my money back? Because what we watched was not football.
No, I mean, if you want to come take a picture and get autographs, go. But hell, I can do that. I can do that somewhere else. I can go stand outside where you probably going to be and do that. But I wasn't. It was hard for me to watch, Mark. It was but I'm just so much of a football head. I just like watching football in general. Yeah. But by the end of the day, man, it was very, very hard for me to watch.
Again, I don't want to see any player get hurt, but it's for me, it was like, why are you even in pads at this point then? In all honesty, it's like you could have done.
With the flag. Go with the flag, bro. Right. We might as well, yeah. I'd rather y'all go with the flag, the two-hand touch or something before you put the pads on and do that. 100%.
So hang on. What do you think of my proposal, though, to let the two worst teams play? You could call it, here's an idea. You could call it the Toilet Bowl, get a company to sponsor that, and then boom, you've got, again, it fills the void between the conference championship and the Super Bowl. And then there are some real stakes. The winner gets the number 1 overall pick. What do you think about my idea, Ike?
Yeah, but you still got to pay the players because the players get paid win or lose. You know what I'm saying? So you got to find a way how you're going to pay the players. If you ain't paying the players, they're not going, because that's the benefit for the team and the general manager and the owner when it comes down to the first pick. Now, if you want to say you get 2 picks in the first 20 picks, then it might be a little bit something different. Then you might be talking. And the winner receives X amount of dollars, then you might be talking. But to do that, then you got to cut it in half.
I see.
So, hey, y'all only get one half. You only get one half. Since we're not a regular season no more, you get 30 minutes. And this was at stakes. The 2 teams, the 2 losing teams, hey, man, y'all get 30 minutes, full go. The winner get the two picks in the top 20 picks for the NFL. I guarantee you they're going to go crazy. And this is what you're going to get compensated for the winner. The loser, you ain't getting paid. But that's how much the winner going to get paid. Guarantee you they're going to be flying around like it's a playoff game.
Well, yeah, I know the NBA All-Star game went with the Elam ending a few years ago, and you saw Kyle Lowry out there taking charges. Like, I just like to see a little bit more spirit. I understand it's an exhibition. I understand it's an All-Star game, but man, like yesterday, like you said, it was hard to watch. And the AFC won for what, the fifth year in a row. It's like the AFC wins. Whoa.
I dig it. I can dig it. I can dig that part.
Hey, let's take a quick break. We've got another sponsor to tell our listeners and viewers about. In today's episode of the Bleav in Steelers podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. And so BetterHelp helps people achieve their goals, dreams, and aspirations. And so what it does is it connects people to a licensed professional therapist. Excited to have BetterHelp on here as a sponsor of the Bleav in Steelers podcast.
Yeah, usually when you think about therapists, especially me being a former professional athlete, I think about somebody who can help me recover with my body. But now with the BetterHelp, man, you can get somebody if you want to achieve some kind of goals, help you recover and further your mind. So make sure y'all go to BetterHelp.com.
Yes, BetterHelp.com/Steelers. And so I want our listeners and viewers to start living a happier life. And so as a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting our sponsor. Again, that's BetterHelp.com/Steelers. More than 1 million people have taken charge of their mental health. Again, BetterHelp, HELP.com/Steelers. Ike, a lot of head coaching hires in the NFL, and we found out yesterday the 49ers are going to go ahead and hire Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniels.
Yes.
That was my since you already gave me the rundown what we was going to talk about, that's what I was going with. I was going with Coach Mike McDaniels. So, yeah, I've been liking him. I've been liking the way of the San Francisco 49ers. I think they play like the old school Pittsburgh Steelers / the Tennessee Titans. They just play hard-nosed, smash-face football. Even though all 3 of the teams I just named came up short to get to the Super Bowl, I just like their style. But I've been liking Coach Mike McDaniels for a while. I've been liking what he's been doing over there for the San Francisco 49ers. And that was a guy, when you asked me what was my favorite hire, I was going to say Coach Mike McDaniels, Mark.
Wow. I know you love the 49ers and Debo and Kittle and the smash mouth style. Stealing my thunder before I can even get the question out, Ike Taylor.
Now, when once you gave him the rundown, I was like, dang, San Fran. I said, dang, the Dolphins. I said, dang, Coach Mike McDaniels. And you got to pull up. So they did kind of hire somebody who's biracial. So you got a little piece of an Ivan / Ike down there too in Miami.
Hey, I'll go through some of the other hires as well.
Okay.
Brian Daboll with the Giants. You got there Matt Eberflus with the Bears, Nathaniel Hackett for the Broncos, Josh McDaniels for the Raiders, Doug Peterson for the Jaguars, Kevin O'Connell for the Vikings, McDaniel joining the Dolphins. 2 openings still between the Texans and the Saints. We'll get to that in just a second. I'm going to go back to the Giants, and it's not just the hire of Daboll that I like, because it is a critical season ahead for quarterback Daniel Jones, but who the Giants have also brought in to help with the development of Daniel Jones. I'm talking about, okay, we know what Daboll did with Josh Allen in Buffalo, but Mike Kafka's coming over. He was Patrick Mahomes' position coach. You've also got Shea Tierney. Josh Allen called him the Bills, and this is a direct quote, most underpaid employee, end quote. Obviously, Joe Schoen coming over as the assistant GM of the Bills, now the GM for the New York Giants. I like this hire of Daboll to the Giants because if Jones is the guy there, I think Daboll is going to be the one to get the most out of him. And I just see the parallels of tall, athletic, mobile quarterbacks from what we saw with Josh Allen when he started his career and had something like a 59% completion percentage to nearly a 70% clip a few seasons later. I think that progression could also happen with Daniel Jones, and who better to do that? It's not just Daboll, but it's also those other hires that the Giants have made to try to get things right. So that's my thought process there in terms of the best hire. It's not just Daboll. It's those other guys who are also coming in to help Daniel Jones develop.
Since we talk about head coaches, I'll just go throw it on a minority coach. And we've been talking about him for like the last 3 years. And that's Coach Eric Bieniemy for the Kansas City Chiefs, right?
Get him down to New Orleans, Ike.
So here's why I don't want him down to New Orleans. They got a big cap. They got a big cap issue.
Yeah.
So he won't be able to get what he wants to get. Now, I think he'll turn that offense around and be good. But if I'm Eric Bieniemy, I'm not in a rush to leave Kansas City. The city loved me. My head coach loved me. They're paying me almost like a head coach. I got Patrick Mahomes. I can pretty much do what I want as an offensive coordinator. If Andy Reid wants to retire, I can come in and take his position. So I'm saying now that I'm thinking and we're talking about it, why would I want to go somewhere else? Well, if Andy Reid wants to retire, I can have this job for another 7 to 8 years if Patrick Mahomes want to play as long as he want to. Why would I leave? Why would I? Yeah, the head coach would look good on my resume, but being assistant head coach to Coach Andy Reid and, having guys like Kelsey and Cheetah and Patrick Mahomes and Tyrann Mathieu on defense and company, why would I want to leave? You know what I'm saying? Like, life is good. Life is good over here. So every year I'm in the AFC Championship for the past 3 years. Out of the 3 years, 2 of them years I was in the Super Bowl. Why would I want to leave? I got Miko Hardman, I got Young McKinnon, I got Pringles, I got some young guys on offense. Why would I want to leave? Like, yeah, there's some nice jobs out there, and I will entertain them. But no, KC just upping my salary. We keep going to this AFC Championship. As long as Patrick Mahomes stay healthy, we got action. Nah, you know what? I'll pass on it, bro. I'll pass on it. Right now, as a coach, you're on the island. The sun is out. I mean, in KC, the sun ain't out. As far as like a coach and having everything at his disposal on the offensive side, tight end, wide receivers, quarterback, running backs, he ain't going nowhere, bro. He ain't going nowhere. I wouldn't.
Ike, let me piggyback off this. We might need to start calling the AFC Championship game the Kansas City Chiefs Invitational because they've hosted 4 consecutive AFC Championship games.
That's crazy.
So kind of like how the Patriots used to be back in the day with Brady. Same thing with what the Chiefs are doing right now. Yep. You are right in terms of my knee-jerk reaction was, what are we waiting on because of the offensive prowess Bieniemy brings to the table. But with the Saints, the underlying story of part of the reason why I personally think Sean Payton left, 16 years with that franchise, but $73 million over the cap, dead last in the NFL.
Yeah, I can't work with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't get nobody. It's going to be a lot of, can you restructure your contracts? And really, man, it's about time for me to go. So my personal opinion, I just thought one of them reasons why Coach Sean Payton left was, man, I don't want to deal with this. Y'all ain't give me no money to play with. So I'm negative $73 million in the hole. And then we coming into a whole new season and the salary cap been went up for every team and I'm still on the negative side. It's going to be hard, bro. Let me go on step back, clear my mind a little bit and probably go to the Dallas Cowboys next year. But other than that, man, y'all ain't giving me nothing to work with.
So between the Texans and the Saints, Ike, which role would you rather step into if you're a prospective head coach for either of those teams? Texans and Saints, which is the more appealing job to you?
I mean, roster-wise, it's the Saints. But I can build my own roster with the Texans. It's just, do I want to deal with that organization and the owners on how they feel about minorities?
Yeah. Like, we'll see. So I always like the coaching carousel, see how all this shakes out. But, you know, this coming off the facts of everything we talked about in the last episode with Brian Flores' lawsuit as well, story we will continue to watch, track, and cover here on the Bleav in Steelers podcast too. Again, I go back to the importance of the equality of opportunity does not necessarily always reflect the equality of the outcome with head coaches. So we'll see which two candidates end up filling both of those prospective roles. But as it stands right now, Mike Tomlin, the only black head coach in the NFL.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. Super Bowl 56, Ike, Bengals and Rams. And I was really excited to talk to you today, Ike, because you won 2 Super Bowls. You played in 3. And so what I want to know about, and this game's going to be in Los Angeles, SoFi Stadium. You played in Detroit, Tampa, and Arlington, Texas for your 3 Super Bowls. Can you give our listeners and viewers an insight of what it's like that week leading up to the Super Bowl, leading up to the big game, and just the anticipation for it from a player perspective?
Super Bowls change your life. That's why I'm getting an opportunity right now to be on the Bleav in Steelers podcast because of, you know, my success, my personal opinion, you know, just winning Super Bowls. Now I think I'm a good analyst. I think I can break it down to pretty much anybody, whether you're 3 years old or 73 years old. If you do or don't know nothing about football, I think I do have that kind of talent. When you want to talk about somebody who watches talent and wants to be a GM, yeah, I think I have that kind of talent. When you want to talk about somebody who's able to work with whomever, and you and I not even knowing each other, but we wind up being real good friends, more like family. Your mom, your dad, your brothers, you coming over, lady cooking, like that's where I'm at with it. So when it comes down to these Super Bowls, man, it's just everything, just a whole red carpet event, bro. It's just like you're actually in a movie throughout the course of a week. Now, once you get to the Super Bowl, you got to play your role for that movie, and that's just what it is. But it's just so hard. It's so hard to describe because all your life, one, you want to make it to that level. So it's a lot of people never get to that Super Bowl. And I was fortunate enough to get to 3. But you want to talk about a game changer, and Coach T said it best. You win Super Bowls in the city of Pittsburgh, you're on scholarship for the rest of your life. And that's exactly how the Pittsburgh Steelers in that city treats me, on scholarship for life. And we talk about 20 years ago, man. So for me, man, it's just been a blessing. It's been an honor. But that Super Bowl week is like nothing other. You know, it's the build-up. You know, when you sitting in the locker room and you got superstars and you got these halftime shows, so usually it's 15 minutes. Now it's like 45 to an hour. You know, it's just a little bit different. When you see that confetti come down and your family members and your friends, they crying, it's just a little bit different. When you can hear at the snap of the kickoff, so many cameras are flashing, when you can just hear it, man, that's just it's a game changer. It's a different kind of life. When you see all the stars, and then when you look at tickets, and tickets are high right now in LA. You know, you got a ticket going, a nosebleed ticket going for $7,000. You know, you get down further, tickets going for $100,000. Like, that's the Super Bowl. How in the hell you pay $100,000 for a ticket? But that's how big the Super Bowl is. You know, how you pay $200,000 for a suite for a couple of hours. That's how big the Super Bowl is. That's the attention it draws, you know? So for me, man, it's just, I was part of both. I got roped off, which hurt, still crying inside to this day. And I was one of the ones watching people who got roped off as well. So, but man, you can't describe the Super Bowl. I just put it to you like this, Mark. Picture you on a show. Picture you doing the show with I'll come back to it.
Okay.
But picture just living your dream out for that week, bro. 3 times.
Let me ask you about this, Ike, because you've had the highest of high winning two, and then losing a Super Bowl as well.
Right.
The three plays and the three circumstances I think of: the first Super Bowl you played, the interception that you had against the Seattle Seahawks, setting up Hines Ward, the reverse pass that he received from Antoine Randall that put the game away for you to beat the Seattle Seahawks in Detroit to win what was your first Super Bowl victory. I go to the second game, and thanks to the wizardry of San Antonio Holmes and Ben Roethlisberger, you're able to get your second win, because you've told me this before. You know, Larry Fitzgerald, as you like to say, was in the Matrix that postseason, scored a late touchdown when you were matched up against him.
I thought it was over.
And then the third circumstance of, you know, you played maybe what was your best game as a professional athlete in the game against the Green Bay Packers, and your Steelers still came up short. So, like, what are those highs and lows like? Because I'd imagine achieving and winning is a feeling that no one can ever take away from you as a Super Bowl champion, but you've been on the other side of that, losing, and what you learn as a professional and how hard that must be to see the opposing team celebrate for something that you've worked so hard to that point. What is that dichotomy like from the highs and the lows of playing in the Super Bowl?
For me, it was a bittersweet moment because I was very upset, cried like a baby. You know, when you cry, you just got snot bubbles coming out your mouth and your bottom lip just be shivering and stuff. That's how bad I was crying in the back. But at the same time, it was contract time, and I balled out. So I was like, "Ooh, I'm about to get paid. I'm about to get paid." So for me, it was bittersweet because I thought 3 always sound better than 2 when it came down to Super Bowls. Like 3-time Super Bowl champion. 2 is nice, you know. 1 is rare. 2 is, you know, we talking about out of space. 3 sound way better than 2. So I mean, we were saying this on the sideline. We were so confident we was gonna win. We was like, bro, the ones who got 2 already. We was like, bro, this about to be our 3rd Super Bowl. And we really wanted to win it for Flozell Adams because he just left Dallas and he came to us. And when he came to training camp, these were exact words to him as a defense. We're going to get you a Super Bowl ring. That's what we told Big Flo. And Big Flo was like, looking at us crazy, like, y'all this unselfish over here? Like, y'all really? We said, look, every blue moon, you got to do it for somebody else. We did it for Jerome Bettis because he wanted to go to Detroit, and he wound up retiring after that game. We respect and we understand what you gave to the game as a first-round draft pick and how much of a star you was to the Dallas Cowboys. We want to do this for you, Big Flo. And we came up short, though. So that was just the unselfishness, but that one hurt. That one, the Green Bay, but you just got it. But matter of fact, Nick Collins is supposed to come on the show today. Next time we'll get him on because we had a lot to do on this show today. But nigga tell you about Charles Woodson's speech at halftime. It was heartfelt, you know. So that's what kind of happened because Charles wound up getting hurt. But Charles kind of revamped his career when he went to Green Bay. But man, you know, Nick and I, we talk all the time. I coach his kids. Ain't no love lost. You know, I'm glad he did get him a Super Bowl, you know, ring. It just came at our expense. So it's all love and it's all good. So
yeah, he's come on the show too, like on the Bleav It Steelers podcast, and I'm amazed that you had a pick 6 against your beloved Steelers, and you two can still speak about it and can speak like your friends. So that just shows you the camaraderie and the brotherhood of the NFL. Because man, like I wouldn't be able to look past that. Like that's just me.
Nah, I agree. It took some time for me to get over it, Mark. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't really mad at the play. And he on the defensive side, so you ain't never mad at the defensive player. We always thought Nick Collins was a dog when it came down to playing on that defense as a safety. But, man, it's like you ain't mad at him. You mad at the Super Bowl. Like, they ain't Super Bowl. Why y'all didn't give it to us? Why y'all gave it to them? For the W.
Well, like you mentioned, veteran players like Flozell Adams, like a Jerome Bettis, Andrew Whitworth, the left tackle for the Rams, 40 years old, could be his final game, seeking a Super Bowl win over the team that he spent his first 11 seasons with the Cincinnati Bengals. These storylines write themselves, Ike.
Oh man, I love Whit, man. Whit, my dog. Whit went to LSU. So he from around the area. He understand what it is to be a Louisiana boy. So I get that part, but at the same time, I went to betonline.ag and I'm going with the Cincinnati Bengals, baby.
Yeah, I am too, Ike, and we're going to talk about this on Friday's episode. Now, to tease ahead to the listeners and the viewers, we're going to have one of Ike's former teammates on, also a two-time Super Bowl champion, on Friday's episode. We will also speak with a Pro Football Hall of Famer. So 2 guests on Friday's show in advance of the Super Bowl. We've got you covered here on the Bleav in Steelers podcast ahead of Super Bowl 56 between the Rams and the Bengals. Like, I'm really, really excited about that.
Man, let's get this party started. We're getting the Super Bowl done when it comes down to this media early.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thanks is in order to you, Ike Taylor. You're the absolute best. I want to give a shout out to the Bleav Podcast Network. Go check out the other podcasts on the Bleav Podcast Network. We're going to have you covered all week long for the Super Bowl. Also, our producers over at Brinks TV, led by John Brinkus, Courtney Vargas, Herbert Diaz, and the crew over there. We have a lot of sponsors on today's show. I just want to make sure I mention them all. BetOnline, NordVPN, BetterHelp, and Masterworks as well. And I want to thank you, the listeners and the viewers of the Bleav in Steelers podcast. Thank you for tuning in and watching.
Hey, major shout out to my dog, Mark. Couldn't ask for a better host. I appreciate everything you do. Got to give it up to the Bleav podcast for giving us the opportunity. Brinks TV, BetOnline, and all the rest of our sponsors, because y'all just coming by the dozen. And my mind right now is still clouded. But make sure y'all rate and review us. Give us a 5-piece, please, 5 stars. All we try to do is entertain and educate you, and I think we're doing a damn good job of it.
Yes, sir. For Ike Taylor, I'm Mark Bergin. Thank you for listening and watching the Bleav in Steelers podcast. We will be back on Friday to preview Super Bowl 56. Until then, take care, and so long, everybody.
Peace.